Welcome to a new episode of Out from the Horrorbox. This week we are discussing the 1988 American science fiction horror comedy film written and directed by the Kyoto brothers, Killer Klowns from Outer Space.
It was a night like any other night. Then something happened.
You see that?
Something different.
It's no shooting star.
Why here? Why now? Why clowns? They've been knocking them dead all over the universe.
What are you gonna do? Knock my block off?
Soon they'll be doing it at a theater near you.
Killer Klowns from outer space.
Maybe they're just cruising through the galaxy and stopped here for a bite to eat.
You don't need a police, pal. You need a psychiatrist. They want to play games? They're messing with the wrong guy.
What are you in for?
Killer Klowns from outer space. It's crazy.
Just outside the town of Crescent Cove, Mike Tobacco and his girlfriend Debbie Stone are parked with other couples at the local Lover's Lane when they spot a strange glowing object falling to earth. Nearby, farmer Gene Green also spies the object, and believing it to be Halley's Comet, he ventures into the woods to find the impact site. He instead stumbles upon a large circus tent-like structure, and he and his dog are captured by the mysterious clownish aliens, the Klowns. Shortly thereafter, Mike and Debbie arrive to investigate for themselves. Entering the structure, they discover a complex interior with elevators and various bizarre rooms, encased in a cotton candy-like cocoon, and are spotted by a clown, who shoots popcorn at them from a large gun. The couple flees, pursued by the clown, and another one who uses a living balloon dog to chase after them. Narrowly escaping, Mike and Debbie travel to the police station to report the incident to Debbie's ex-boyfriend, Deputy Dave Hansen, and his curmudgeonly partner, Deputy Curtis Mooney. The skeptical Mooney believes the story to be a hoax. After taking Debbie home, Mike and Dave return to the woods, only to find the circus tent has vanished, leaving a large crater in its place. They then travel to the Lover's Lane, only to find all the cars abandoned and covered in a cotton candy-like substance. Back in town, the clowns arrive and begin capturing townspeople in cocoons using ray guns that resemble toys. Several clowns perform pranks such as putting on a puppet show, pretending to deliver a pizza, and ransacking a drugstore, all of which result in the deaths of several onlookers. Mike and Dave witness one of the clowns using shadow puppets to shrink a crowd of people into the palm of its hand, then dump them into a sack of popcorn, revealed to be sentient creatures that eagerly gobble up their human prey. Back at the police station, Mooney is inundated with calls from townspeople reporting incidents with the clowns, but he dismisses all of them. Soon after, a clown arrives at the station, and Mooney arrests it, believing it to be a teen prankster. Dave returns to the station to find two prisoners encased in cocoons, and the now escaped clown using a deceased Mooney as a ventriloquist dummy. Dave shoots the clown several times before destroying its nose, which causes it to spin wildly and explode. Elsewhere in town, Mike meets up with his friends Rich and Paul, the Trenzy brothers. and using the PA speaker on the ice cream truck, they drive around town attempting to warn people of the invading clowns. At Debbie's house, Popcorn, stuck to her clothes from her earlier encounter with the clowns, mutates into monsters and attacks her. She fends off the creatures, but another group of clowns arrives and traps her in a giant balloon. Mike, Dave, and the Terenzis witness Debbie's capture and give chase, following the clowns to an amusement park and the relocated circus tent. Journeying through a funhouse leading to the clown's lair, the Terenzi brothers become separated and meet two female-looking clowns. After Dave and Mike witness a clown using a crazy straw to drink gelatinized town people's blood, they rescue Debbie and flee into a maze of tricks and traps. When they emerge, the trio finds themselves under a massive circus tent and surrounded by clowns. The Terenzis arrive in their ice cream truck and use the PA to distract the clowns. A gargantuan clown marionette descends from the ceiling, breaks free from its strings, and attacks the group. After it destroys the ice cream truck, apparently killing the Terenzis, Dave creates a distraction, and Mike and Debbie are able to escape the structure. The tent begins to spin and rise into the air, revealing it to be a massive spaceship. Back inside, the clown grabs hold of Dave, who removes his police badge and uses it to destroy the clown's nose. The clown explodes, destroying the entire ship along with him. Debbie and Mike briefly mourn the loss of their friends until a clown car suddenly drops out of the sky, and Dave emerges along with the Terenzi brothers, who survived the ice cream truck's explosion by hiding in the truck's freezer. As the group watches the fireworks created by the exploding ship, pies fall from the sky and hit them in their faces. Okay, so for a little bit of background on the production, it was created by three siblings, Stephen, Charles, and Edward Chiodo, or Chiodo. I've heard it pronounced multiple different ways. They're all special effects artists specializing in clay modeling, creature creation, stop motion, and animatronics. They've created puppets and effects for films such as Critters, Ernest Scared Stupid, Team America World Police. They did the claymation sequence for both Large Marge scene from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and as well as the stop motion elements in the North Pole scene from Elf. The film's original title was going to be simply Killer Klowns, but the filmmakers added the words "from outer space" to prevent audiences from assuming it was just like a regular old slasher film. Filming took place in the city of Watsonville and the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. The budget of the film was $1.8 million. The box office were pretty decent, considering the small budget. It had a worldwide of $43.6 million, which breaks down to about $15.6 domestically and $28 million overseas. Most of the budget went towards the amazing special effects and production design, because like when you watch this film now, this movie from '88, it still holds up. I mean, the effects hold up pretty good. The clown themselves, the clowns, their masks are at the same time horrifying and hilarious. I don't know how to explain that other than like go watch it or go look at like these masks and faces that they created for these clowns, because they are sometimes disturbing. Like when you think about like, what if this thing really existed in real life? And you can also tell that a lot of the money went into just the production design, like the cotton candy, cocoons, the matte paintings for this, a lot of the props that they use, especially the popcorn gun they use by the clowns in this. It was an actual working gun. Like, it had a compressor that allowed the weapon to actually propel popcorn. And it was actually the most expensive prop for the production. It cost $7,000 to create and taking 6 weeks to build. So that shot where the clown like locks or he like fires off that popcorn gun, that's like legit. It's firing the popcorn out of that wasn't done with any kind of effect. And then even like the balloon dog animal, like that it like comes to life and sentient, like that's crazy. And like when you learn like it took them a while to get that effect done, just because the balloon animal kept popping due to the pine needles. So what they had to do was they had to coat the legs in latex in order for that to stop from popping, which is which is ridiculous when you think like, oh, like these balloons are just gonna these balloons are gonna pop from just a pine needle. So that's kind of crazy too. Most of the vehicles in this film were rented and therefore not allowed to be damaged. Two cars were accidentally damaged. One was driven off a bridge, although it was only intended to roll a short distance, and the Jeep filled with webbing needed $3,000 of repairs after solvent and the webbing damaged the interior. Because when you see the scene, it's covering that car, like in the inside, not the outside. The inside is just like covered with this, like the cotton candy, like whatever it is, and that's when they pull out. I think it's whatever McGreeve's Jeep or whatever, and his glasses. Those are McGreeve's glasses or whatever. Those are his glasses. They ended up having to spend a huge chunk of their budget on repairing those cars and get them back to before they get them back to where they got them from. Okay, so I'm gonna go into a little bit of like my own little personal story about this movie. So this movie I have loved since I was a little kid. I remember being a little kid, maybe like I don't know, like 5 or 6, and I saw a trailer for it on Sci-Fi, and I believe it was that was like when it was gonna not premiere, but like it was gonna be shown on Sci-Fi, right? And they were promoting it, and I remember seeing the trailer for it, and I wanted to watch it like really badly. So I remember I fell asleep and I didn't watch it, and I woke up and I was sad. But the good thing is my mom, she recorded it for us on VHS, so I had it on VHS, just recorded. It had Sci-Fi in the corner every time, because I remember too, like there were parts I think where it like jumped because it was like the commercials, but actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I don't know if it had commercials on there. But anyways, I just remember being a kid and just imagine being a little boy and like you're growing up with two sisters and like you're constantly in love with like horror movies and like things like that, and like this is what you make your sisters watch constantly. It was like this was one of the ones I wanted to watch all the time. I loved this movie because it was so ridiculous. It was so out there. It was just like it had like the I loved the effects, and I loved the campy story to it. I mean, obviously back then it was just more of like, oh, I love this movie for what it is. Now I can appreciate it for being what it is. Like you can tell like it's an homage to like these old like classic like 50s movies, like the sci-fi movies from the past, especially like The Blob, because I know that inspired this movie a lot. And you know, growing up and being able to appreciate films as I grew up, this is one that I will over time like. And I think because I know one of my friends who I've shown this movie to, he didn't really like it, but he had never really seen it as a kid. I think this is a movie that you need to grow with, because for him, he's just watching this movie and it's like not what he expected, not what he wanted from the movie. But you know what? For me, every time I watch it, it's like I know that's coming, or I already know like what's coming up. But that doesn't like hinder anything from this movie for me. I love this movie so much. I collect like Killer Klowns merch. If you've been on our Instagram, I posted a picture of some of the stuff I have. I have some of the pop figures, some stuff from the Halloween Horror Nights. I wish I had gone to that. I wasn't able to go when when they first started doing like the Space Zone for it, and then also when they did the Horror Nights, like the maze, the Killer Clown maze. I totally wish I could have done that. But anyways, I love this movie so much. It's such a joy to watch every time. There's like parts I know like the back of my hand, and it's just because it's so interesting that it's like it's just such a ridiculous movie, but it's done with like 100% heart. You can tell it's not one of those movies that's trying to be like, oh, we're trying to be dumb or we're trying to be like over the top to be funny, huh? Like a Veloz or a Pastor or like Birdemic or whatever, where it's trying to be like over the top and weird and dumb. I think this has 100% heart behind it, in that like you can tell that the Kyoto brothers, they wanted to make a film that showed off not only their like techniques, but also showed off like what they were into, like what they were interested in. And this is what they were interested in, making movies with creatures and being able to show like, hey, like this is an homage to what we love, type of thing. And I love that. I love it so much. I have it on not only DVD, I have it on Blu-ray. I also bought it. I have it on iTunes. Like I can watch it so many different ways. It's almost like there's only like one other like, or there's only a couple other like franchises I'm like in love with that I would do that for. And another one is like Star Wars. Like I have that movie on, or those movies on multiple different formats. This one is no different. Like I remember being a kid and we went to Best Buy and I had my own money and I bought the DVD. This was a long time ago, and then I mean even now, like I found a copy of it that I liked on Blu-ray and I bought it. I mean honestly, if I could buy every version of it on Blu-ray or DVD, I would. And then like even just like any type of like merchandise. Like I went to Spirit. I think is this year they're doing like a Killer Klowns. Like they have like more Killer Klowns merchandise this year, and I went and I bought a mug because that's how much I love this. I love it so much. Like this movie, honestly, like I know it's not for everyone, especially if you're afraid of clowns. Like my little brother is definitely afraid of clowns, so he does everything to avoid this movie. But if you enjoy like the old like 50s style like sci-fi movies, if you love clowns and like creature effects, if you're just a fan of horror, like I mean honestly I would recommend this. I mean it's not really like it's not a gore movie at all, but in the end there are a lot of deaths. Obviously it's horror. It's gonna have a lot of killing in it, and they're killer clowns. So there's that. At least they got on that. They knew how to give us that. So and I can just gush about the effects. I mean, they are amazing. Like just from the look of the clowns to like the way that they explode, and like I love watching the behind the scenes. I mean, as a filmmaker myself, like I love watching the behind the scenes on any movie because I'm like I want to know how they did that. And you see what they did for this and like what they had to practice, like especially like the Clownzilla, like Jojo the Clownzilla, the big boss at the end. The way that they had to shoot that was they shot it at a higher frame rate, and then they slowed it down for the film, just so that they could get like a smoother. So he had to they shot everything high frame rate, so he's having to do the action very fast, like pound on the car really fast and then like pick it up and throw it. But then when you watch that sequence, it's very smooth and it's very like you get to see every scene of it because they shot it at a higher frame rate. And anyone out there who knows, like with higher frame rate, like you just get like a nicer, like when it's like slowed down, it's like a nicer like slow motion, and it feels like smoother. And that's what I mean. And then there's like the fact that they got John Vernon to play Curtis Mooney. That's awesome because I mean he was from Animal House, and like he plays this role 100%. Like he is such a that caliber of an actor that he didn't just like read it and was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just do this and just kind of like phone it in. He actually like puts his all into it, and this movie is PG-13, so when you're allowed to have at least one F word, you're giving it to John Verna. And there's that one scene where he tells him like to fuck off, and it's just so funny. It's so awesome. It's just like, yes. And there's just like little things here and there where like this movie is just so good. There's funny scenes, there's ridiculous scenes, there's over the top. There like when the little tiny clown punches the guy, knocks his block off. Hilarious every time, because it's just like, dang, that's what that dude gets. But then there's like the unsettling. They really knew what to do. Like there's an unsettling scene in this where there's a little girl who's being coaxed out at a burger joint by a clown to like the little play yard, and he's like beckoning her to come out, and behind his back he's got a huge hammer, and it's like, what the hell? And it's so like such a shot so dramatically, and the music is so like right there, like slow and like menacing, and she's about to go out there, and that's when the mom like grabs her and she's like, oh, come back, like you're not allowed or whatever, like get back and eat or whatever. And then that's when the clown is like gets all mad, but like it's unsettling the way that the clown gets mad. Like, you just have to watch that sequence for it to like click in your mind to be like, he was gonna like knock her out or kill her or eat her or something. Like, it's kind of disturbing. But yeah, I mean, honestly, go watch this movie if you can, or if you've seen it. Like, I'd like to hear from you, just to know like your thoughts. Like, is this the first time you've seen it? Have you watched it like me, like a million times? What did you think for your first time, or what did you think for your millionth time? But before we go, let me get into a little bit of trivia for this movie. I know that, I mean, if you watch any review on the internet, you're probably going to know everything about it. I mean, there's nothing I can really say that no one else hasn't said. But I mean, I'm just going to go over some stuff. So, like, the Kyoto brothers wanted to cast Soupy Sales as a security guard that gets killed by the clown with the acidic pies. He was known for receiving pies in the face on children's television show Lunch with Soupy Sales. However, the executive producers did not want to allocate funds to pay for Sales' plane ticket to the production and felt that the audiences would not know who Sales was, which I will agree with, because if I hadn't watched this as a little kid, I wouldn't know why that was funny. Even now, I'm like, I guess I get it. Like, if I had grown up like watching, then like, oh yeah, you know that's Soupy Sales, right? I would have been like, who? So every monster needs an Achilles heel, and as the Officer Dave learns in the movie, that the clowns are no exception. So the Kyotos revealed that the weakness that for the clowns, it's just, this is quoting them, it seems so logical. Shoot the nose, kill the clown. Like, how do you kill a zombie? That's what one of the other brothers asked. Shoot the brains, kill the zombie. Same idea. So that's where they came up with that idea for, like, shooting the nose and then causing the clowns to die. Like, they wanted some way to kill these creatures, but not just with, like, let's just, like, shoot it in the stomach and it dies, or let's stab it and then it dies. But I like that idea of, like, making the nose. I know when you actually think about it, like, why would advanced race of aliens evolve such a weakness, like, right on the front of their face? But then when you think about it, like, I mean, humans, like, one thing that'll take you down is, like, for men especially, is a kick in the groin. I mean, that's something that's just hanging there. That's just like, like can take you down in an instant. Can take any man down. Like, so I mean, I don't really get why people make such a. I mean, they don't. I don't hear a lot of complaining, but I feel like some people would be like, "Oh, well, that's kind of dumb that they do that." But it's like, come on, it's a movie. At some point, you have to be like, you have to suspend your disbelief for this to even work. I mean, you're talking about killer clowns from outer space. You should know what you're getting into. So Charles Kyoto told a crowd that Steven wanted his team to sculpt 4 generic head types: one round, one triangular, one inverted triangle, and one peanut shaped. Once completed, these were mass produced, and the effects artist creating 2 clown characters from each of the 4 molds. On top of that, an original mask mold was made for the Clownzilla, which those masks went on to be used for Ernest Scared Stupid, which is a movie I hope to cover on here at some point. I love that movie as well. Can't wait to watch that for Halloween. But it's just crazy that they made these masks and they didn't try and preserve them. They ended up using them for something else, and now those original masks are gone. Like we don't have them. That's why you see like killer clowns like at like Hollywood, like the Universal Horror Nights or whatever, or like at different like conventions, and they look off. It's because they're not like the original mask. There's no original mold for those anymore. And it's kind of sad because, like, those, like I said, when you watch those movies, or this movie, and you see, like, the clowns, like, they just are, like, horrific, and they're just so well done. It's kind of sad. So one thing, too, to wrap things up, in the finale of the movie, Dave was supposed to die in the explosion of the clown ship, but this was changed after audiences were in test screenings wanted a more upbeat ending. I know the Terenzi brothers were supposed to survive no matter what, so people who complain about like them, and I never found them like too irritating. Maybe just because I was a little kid watching it, and they kind of made me laugh. Because I always see reviews where people are like, "Oh, these people, they're so annoying and this and that, and blah blah blah." But it's like, come on, it needed some kind of comic relief, and it adds to the story a little bit because they're, ice cream, and then they got the clown on top, and it's JoJo or whatever. I don't know. It never bothered me, but like when you think about like at the end, when they just pop out of the car and they're like, "Oh yeah, we survived in the cooler or whatever of the ice cream truck," and it's like, okay, but then how did you get in this car? And then like Dave is also in the car, and it's like, okay, so now we're just throwing out logic because like he was last seen like the Clownzilla like drops him, and he just like you see him like look somewhere, and then like he walks out of frame, and then that's it, and it explodes. And it's like, so the car was just there, like parked. Whatever. Like there's a lot. Like I said, this movie is ridiculous. But you just got to kind of go with it because it's Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Come on, you got to go with it. So I mean, I highly recommend this movie. This is one of my favorite movies of all. I mean, just movies of all time. I just like I said, as a little kid, I remember watching that, and yeah, sure, maybe I do have like some nostalgia glasses, rose-tinted glasses on, but I don't care. Honestly, like I would recommend this movie for everybody. Like I recommend it to my nephews, my goddaughter and godson. I mean my goddaughter. I showed her this. She was a little. You can tell that like this movie is a little older for her. Not saying that she was like too scared by it. It's just that the movie is a little bit slower paced at parts, so you can tell like she's not used to like these like because movies were a lot. And then I could go into that on a whole another thing, but movies are a little bit more fast paced now. Like you can tell that they kind of get more to the point now than they used to, and like they used to like kind of build up towards things. I mean, I'm not gonna get into. I know that movies do that now too, some, but like for this movie itself, it's a slow moving movie. It's not like, oh, like clowns all the time, huh? But like there's parts where it gets slow, it gets dark, and it gets like, oh, like menacing. But it's to create like this atmosphere, and you can tell like little kids nowadays probably would just be like, oh, a little bit boring. But yeah, I recommend it to everybody all the time, especially for Halloween. Like this is a great movie. Like this is a good movie to watch all around year, all year round. I mean, so yeah, I mean, go watch it. It's I don't know if it's on Amazon Prime. I think you have to rent it. But every once in a while, it is on Netflix for you to watch. It is on Prime, and so when it comes up, go watch it. Honestly, it's not that long of a movie. I think it's barely like 80 something minutes. It's a cult classic, and if they ever make a sequel, I will be there 100%. I know people were complaining because, oh, Disney is the reason why this movie's not getting a sequel anymore. It's not Disney. It's like MGM or something, or whoever owns the rights. Because the way that the merger with Disney and Fox worked, basically it's not Disney's fault. It's a bunch of other things that are complicated and complex. It's like the way with like Friday the 13th has been in this kind of stalled legal trouble because so and so had the idea of this and this person wrote that, and when you get things like that and it gets all spiderwebby and you can't pull things apart and you can't come to a conclusion, and like the Kyoto brothers have been talking about it for years too about this. So I mean, who knows? Who knows if we'll ever get a sequel, or one thing they were talking about is doing a series also. So hopefully we'll get the return of the Killer Klowns from Outer Space in 3D, like they said. I don't know, but thank you for joining me on this episode of Out from the Horror Box. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram at Horrorbox Podcast. Please DM me there. Let me know what you think. Give me recommendations. Is there anything that you'd like me to go over in these reviews that I'm missing? Is there anything like you want me to review? Is there any news or any stories or anything personal that's ever happened to you that you want me to talk about? Because I will. I love receiving any kind of feedback. So hit me up there. Go ahead, and you can also send me an email, horrorboxpodcast@gmail.com, and you can always send any kind of like submission stories, which is one that I'm going to probably be reading coming up. You can anything that's coming out, any news, anything that you're like, hey, you should totally go over this, send it there, send it to the Instagram. But just the more feedback, the more you engage with me, the better for me, because then that gets me more like, oh yeah, okay, I wanna post more. That's something that I'm trying to get to. So hopefully I'll get on that a little bit more. But until next time, guys, keep it spooky, and next time we'll see what comes out from the horror box.